Monday, September 11, 2017 at 6:30. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Love kids. So obviously this is a somber day. I mean, 16 years ago, we had gruesome attacks here in the United States. I would like to have at least a moment of silence for September 11th victims. Thank you. I'll see.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of Monday, August 14th, as written.
Have a motion. Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion. Second. Any further discussion? I see none. Cameron.
Yes.
Julie.
Yes.
Doug.
Yeah.
Diane.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of Monday, August 28th, as written.
For August 28th minutes. Do you have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any other further discussion concerning the minutes? I see none. Kim?
Abstain.
Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the executive session, non-public minutes, not to be released at this time, as written.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion? I see none. Cameron?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Going into new business, Mr. Tanzini, the public hearing for the Dagger dog complaint, that's been pushed off to,
It has, the owner of the dog had a training related to some volunteer efforts that they're involved in for this evening, and requested that we put it off, so we've done so until the 25th of September. We've notified the complainant and the ACO.
okay. So the ACO, the PD,
Yep,
and the individual,
yes,
okay.
we'll get formal letters out to everyone tomorrow,
That
but
was
we
my next
made
question. Thank you.
some quick calls today.
Okay. Going on, I don't wanna keep too many people here. Would you guys have any issues if we moved H to the next topic?
I have no problem with that.
Doug?
I'm fine.
Diane? You have any issue with that?
No.
Julie?
Nope.
We're gonna discuss H, the Barre Road-Public Concerns. Obviously you
Mr.
have a-
Chairman,
Yes,
I'll be recusing myself.
understood,
Mr. Chairman, I'll also be recusing.
understood. So again, Barre Road Public Concerns, a 10-minute time limit. Barre Road? If you can come up, just have a seat, that'd be great. If you could just state your name for the, and where you live for the record.
My name is Amy Balchunas. I live at 162 Barre Road in Templeton.
Okay, is there any other Barre Road residents here with you?
Yes.
Whoa, hey, now, what's going on, folks? If you guys want to also come up, that would be great. You guys can sit in the front row. How's that? Sorry, I don't mean to be like that, but that'll be fantastic. That way we don't have to yell, and we can all talk professionally here. Okay, we did receive a letter. The Board of Selectmen did receive a letter of concerns, which was well-written. So we're here to hear you. What else, what is your concerns?
We have been informed as townspeople, as abutters to the property at 206 Barre Road, that there was going to be a group home opening there.
Okay.
It was not, we were not told that this home's being put in there. We had some reports given to us as to who the people were that were going to be moved into that home. And it raised some real concerns to those of us who have children.
Mhm.
The two babies you see behind me are two of my daycare children because my property abuts this property and I do operate a state licensed daycare next door. We had some real concerns as to what was being reported to us. Phone calls were made and it would appear that the population that was going to be moved in is not going to arrive. However, it is still going to be a group home. Our main concern is that this was kind of snuck in. None of us were told. You folks as towns boardsmen were not told. We as abutters were not told. We as parents of children were not told that these people who were, they're level 3 offenders, were going to be moved in next door. And it raises a lot of concerns
Okay.
to the safety of our children, to the safety of our own homes.
Thank you. Anybody, you have anything else to add? The butters?
Do we know who is going to move into the home?
It's a licensed corporation as far as we know, as far as the town is concerned. Any,
License to do what?
they have a license to operate a home, I can't think of the word. Mr. Tenzini, can you help me out with this?
And
Well, it's,
for teenage boys, teenage girls, women who need help recovering from
they-
substance abuse? I mean, it would make a difference to the abutters what was going on.
yeah. The corporation that has the contract with DDS has not revealed the client profile, but these are clients of the Department of Development Services, what was formerly known as the Department of Mental Retardation.
Does that include sex offenders? Because once you approve this, if they can have anybody they want in there, they can move anybody they want in there. And there are certain limitations as a neighbor that I would have to say, no, you can't move those people in here. I mean, I don't wanna be, not in my backyard, but with the daycare, yeah, not in my backyard.
We understand your concerns. Obviously, we're restricted as well by the state statute and what we're able to do
You
as
as
well.
The town board can't say
Unfortunately,
no?
no. If they are licensed and they're licensed to operate and they purchase a home, they have the right to operate out of that property, as long as they maintain the standards of the state statute. I mean, I've heard the rumors out there in the blogs too about where, we're the Board of Selectmen and we're not doing anything to remedy or try to fix the situation or the concerns up on Barre Road. But unfortunately, there's certain things that we, even as a Board of Selectmen, we can't do. We can't interfere because it would be breaking the law. There's certain things that we can say, and there's certain things we can't say, because, and then it would hold the town liable and responsible under legality issues. So if this is a licensed corporation under the DSS guidelines, under Health and Human Services, and they are licensed to operate based on the Commonwealth of Massachusetts within the guidelines of how they operate, which I believe is, I think it's four clients, based on the size of the residence, and they operate a residential house, they have every right to operate, unfortunately. Now, obviously, I'm sure that you did some research, and you did some things outside, obviously outside of us. And what was the result of that?
The end result is that the offenders will not be moving in there.
Okay,
I was granted a phone call from the commissioner of DDS.
mm-hmm,
She called me directly and told me that they had protocols that were not followed. They had processes that were not met, and that the offenders were not going to be moving into the house.
Okay.
That it was very possible that we were going to have 4 women. She said it could possibly also be teenagers.
okay,
But she said that there would not be offenders moving in. The first phone call that I made was to one of the agencies, and the gentleman who answered the phone, I have his name back there, I think it was Glenn, said, well, we didn't know there was a daycare there,
okay,
which to me made me believe that they didn't do their homework
okay.
in the first place. If they didn't know I've been licensed for 9 years, and most of you, if not all, have your own children.
I understand. Well, I really do appreciate you bringing this to our attention, and I understand your concerns. And obviously, if there's anything that we can do, we are here to support the Templeton residents, and that's what we're gonna do. But again, we are constricted as well by the state statute of what we can and cannot do, and I can't apologize for that, because that's what the law says, believe it or not. I mean, I can disagree, just like anybody else, because I live in this town or not. That's my belief, but as me, up on this board representing the rest of the population of Templeton, there are certain things that we can do, and there's certain things we can't do.
Worst case scenario, if something happens, can the board then step in?
If worst-case scenario,
And what about other residences opening up in town that are just gonna pop up that nobody's going to hear the rumors, and I protect children, that's my internal organs do that, I
Mhm.
protect children,
like I said, unfortunately, as long as they're abiding by the state law
but they
and the
didn't.
statute, and thank you for catching that, I do appreciate your efforts, I really do. But, I mean, obviously, we as a board can't, when businesses come in and they're supposed to be abiding by the state law and the statute, and we have to make sure we're doing the right things on our end. Yes, sir.
When they decide to come into a community,
Mhm.
do they have to notify the board at all?
No, they do not.
I believe only if resident, you're a level 3 sex offender, you have to notify, but that's only the residents of the,
They would, if they are a sex offender, they would have to be notified the police department within 3 business days. That's what the state statute
Does
says.
the police department then tell the board?
No.
Or do we have, is there any way we can find out that information?
You would have to go to the police department for that information, sir. We would not have that.
It's on the wall at the police department.
So it is publicly available?
Yes, sir.
But they don't notify people who are living next door. You have to, so how do you find out? Go to the police station every day and see if anyone new is moving in?
Well, I can tell you that, do you have a computer?
Yep.
It's online. It's as simple as going online, and they will be, they'll pop up on your computer screen, sir.
Is there any way you can regulate this? I mean, I know like if
The
Matt down the road decides to.
The state
he
does
wants to put
regulate it.
down- If he wants to put down manure, we all get a letter, and
Right.
going, and it just seems that, that this kind of like snuck in, it seems, and it, and again, it's all rumor, I didn't, so it's,
Understood.
but it seems like they, all of a sudden, whoop, hey, the house, we saw the house for sale, the next thing you know, oh, this is what's happening, you're going, what?
We understand, we get it, but unfortunately, again, like I said, we have to abide by what the state statute tells us that we can do, and like you
Well,
said,
I mean,
we.
I understand that, but it's
And
just.
they are regulated, they're supposed to be regulated by the Commonwealth. I mean, if they're a licensed organization they're bound by the state laws, so the state would have to regulate what they're doing. I.e., I think that house was rated for, 4 residents, I believe. So if they, because again, it's residential, I mean, it's not commercial. So, I mean, once you get over certain residents, it becomes a commercial business, even though it's a nonprofit, but for residents, and that's as much as we know. But again, there's certain things that we can say and do, and there's certain things that we can't. And unfortunately, as long as they abide by the state law, and they do the right things, and even, you caught them, and I got that, and I applaud your efforts, but we are not notified. The Board of Selectmen is not notified. Do you guys have anything to add, Doug?
I don't know. This is the first I've heard of it. I was not aware
Exactly,
that this was going on. Yeah.
exactly. And that's the problem.
Yep. I think they would have had to applied for a business license, because that's a requirement of Templeton, that they have a business license from the town.
The only permit they applied for, I was told by the building inspector or the town administrator, I'm not sure, was that they needed a second address, was the only permit that they applied for in town. And there were 3 agencies involved
Understood.
that put this house in.
And you said they were nonprofit as well,
Mhm.
so that's at their loophole, how they get around.
Again, I can't,
No, I know, okay,
I can't.
sorry.
Don't even get me started. But but again, we are here to help and support. I mean, I don't want you to think that we don't know and we're not doing anything about it, because there's certain things that we can and there's certain things we can't. I mean, I know, social media is great to a certain degree, and I can tell you that there are certain people that are angry at us because they feel that we could have just went in there and kiboshed everything and said, no, you can't do this, you can't operate. Well, unfortunately, we can't do that. So those people that are out there that think that we have the power to do that, they're mistaken. We don't have the authority to do that. These residents have rights just like everybody else. And how many times have you heard that? Every time you picked up the phone and called somebody, what do they say? They have rights too. And unfortunately, that's the law.
And I get that, but they took rights away from the people that.
No, I understand that too. Believe me, I get what you're saying, and I applaud your efforts, and I think what you're doing and what you have done for the community as far as, squaring away what you need to square away at your daycare center for your business. Squaring away, I mean, you changed some bus stops, I heard?
I changed 4 bus stops so that the children were not
Right.
visible.
And again, I mean, those are things that we could not do that. Okay? But I do applaud your efforts, and I do thank you for coming in. I thank all of you for coming in.
It just boggles my mind that the state can put a home in and not tell the board that they're coming. So you're gonna do it legally? Yeah, they can do it. But I can't believe that they wouldn't notify you. That there shouldn't be some sort of statute saying, the town has to know that this is happening.
Unfortunately, they don't.
I do have 2 people that I've spoken with who want to put in new legislation for the state to make sure that this doesn't happen. I know both Winchendon and Gardner have had issues with the same kind of a situation, as have the town of Ware. So they're trying to push for some new legislation to make sure that this kind of thing doesn't happen, and it does have to be run by town boards before they can be opened up. And I understand that these individuals have rights. I understand why these 2 women had to leave this room. I understand that. However, that's who I protect.
Mhm.
And I have a whole bunch of them.
I know, and I think it's great. I think it's great what you do for the community and all the kids. I see you all the time.
I know.
So believe me, I got it.
And I usually have a truck full of
I
children.
know. I believe me, I feel you here. But unfortunately, like I said, there's certain things legally we can do, and there's certain things we can't. And unfortunately, based on what we saw, other than what you found, they were doing everything by the law. Okay? And again, I really appreciate you guys coming in. That means a lot to us to hear from you. And just know that we are here. We are listening. We're not just not doing anything. We are listening. And if we can do action, then we will do action. Okay? Thank you so much for coming in.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Doug. Luann, is Diane out there? Is Diane? Thank you. Hi. Okay, going to new business action on IMA-TA update. Cameron?
Yes, so we are planning to meet Wednesday for the subcommittee and to review almost a final pass after legal,
Okay.
and kind of get together and see if we can agree on what it is for a draft and come back with the actual draft.
What time Wednesday?
I believe it's 6 o'clock or 6:30, Diane.
6:30. And that's in Winchendon?
Yes, Winchendon Town Hall.
Okay, thank you. Anything else to add? No, okay, good. Action on OML complaint on 7/31/17.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
if I may, I'd like to make a recommendation for Mr. Terenzini to file or write a response.
okay. Okay. Is that your recommendation, or is that a motion?
I will make it a motion.
Okay. Do I have a second? For Mr. Terenzini to write the response?
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion is second. Any discussion concerning the violation?
Probably should have asked him, Mr. Terenzini, is that okay with you?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I should have asked. So, too bad.
What's the phrase, voluntold?
That's correct, sir. Okay, any other discussion? I see none. Cameron?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Diane?
No.
No. Okay, and I vote. Yes. It's at 14 days, Mr. Tenzini, to respond, right?
Yes, I'll have a draft on your agenda of 09/25.
All right. The award of contract for the lawn tractor, DPW-B&G. Alan? Mr. Mayor, how are you? I'm doing great. I hear you're doing great things out there.
I appreciate that, thank
Keep up the great work.
As we worked through the FY '18 budget, the Light and Water Department agreed to purchase 2 new lawn tractors for the buildings and grounds, at a cost of $14,000. Should be in your packet, the, contract price, it's under a state bid.
Good, okay.
The contract price for the 2 tractors is $16,865.26, which leaves us approximately a little over $2,800 short. In talking with the town administrator, I felt that we could absorb that in the expense account by pinching pennies through the rest of the fiscal year. And I think it would be prudent that we purchase the new tractors moving forward. We're not gonna get an opportunity like this very often, and the Light Department has been gracious enough to give us that amount of money in order to do this, so my recommendation is to go forward with this and purchase the 2 tractors on the state bid FAC 88.
So you're gonna take the 2,800 out of the operating budget, is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Tenzini did, and obviously, Mr. Driscoll's all set with all this?
He signed off, and as I mentioned, if free cash is certified in time, we hope to have a small capital budget at the fall, and we may try to backfill this
Okay,
at the fall town meeting. But we've really got to see where free cash lands
understood.
to do that.
Yep.
So that Alan has those monies available in his operating budget. So that will have to look to play out.
Understood, okay.
Are you trading in any of the tractors that you have, or is this gonna be
No,
2 additional?
this is going to be 2, they are going to be replaced, we are going to surplus the 2 that we are replacing. So they will go out through the surplus process and either auction or given to another department, whatever the board wishes. After discussions with the Inspector General's office, they would rather we don't do the trade because they think that we can get better funding through possibly the auction type thing where people actually compete for the trades. I did include in your packet the valuation that the dealer gave on the 2 tractors that we
Saw
would
that.
trade. That will help us moving forward if we decide to surplus an auction, because then we can have an idea what they're worth to begin with. So at least we can set an auction stat limit at somewhere near that figure or just under it, just so that we can get what they're worth. But that's my recommendation. I would not trade them. I would hold them and surplus them and try to auction them. I think the town will do better in that area.
And just out of curiosity, what are the perpetual care accounts, you're not using those just so that way it's not stuck at one cemetery versus the other one, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, if you use perpetual care, then the machine that you buy out of, let's say, Green Lawn Perpetual Care, you can
Mhm.
only run at Green Lawn, you can't
Understood.
run anywhere else.
That's why I wanna make sure that everybody knew that.
It becomes a problem for us, because then you have to label that machine, you have to make sure that machine has labeling on it, Green Lawn Perpetual Care, so people know that you're not using it
Understood.
in other locations. A lot of times, my crews will go out and they'll be mowing in one area, and then they'll just load up the equipment and move to the next area.
Mhm.
If they have a perpetual care machine, they've gotta bring it all the way back, drop it off and grab the legal machine they can use, so
Understood.
it's not
I just wanna
efficient.
make that point known, but thank you so much.
So you can't mow my lawn for me? Is that what you're saying? Just checking.
Worth a try, right?
Yes, Mr. May?
Yeah, hi, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I had a question. So, I'm just looking at the capital planning list here. So are we replacing the two that are listed as perpetual care on this list for 2018 and leaving the ones that are listed under the funding source open?
We would be replacing the ones that are on the funding source open.
Okay, so we're still keeping the ones in the 2018 fiscal year for perpetual care?
That if the commissioners chose to, or if the town chose to, that we could access that and do that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Mayo?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the bid.
Motion to accept the bid as is. Do I have any, do you have a second?
Second.
Motion second. Any other discussion concerning this? I see none. Kim?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes?
Diane?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for your homework. I appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
would respectfully ask that you take item F up next, while Mr. Mayo's at the table.
Yes. Action regarding contract Sanders. Okay.
At the time of writing the memo to you, we did not have the final quotations. Those did come in today. The pricing is $15,100, which does include delivery here to Templeton.
Okay.
The Light Department has also signed off on this. They had a $10,000 contribution towards this effort
Okay.
for a dump body, and they've gone along with converting it to the purchase of the Sanders for the reasons we outlined in the memo.
Okay. Any other 5,100 is that gonna also come out of your operating budget?
That is going to come out of the highway maintenance and repair account.
Okay.
And similar to the mowers, depending upon where we land with free cash, we will be looking at the possibility of backfilling this at the fall town meeting.
And how crucial are these pieces of equipment?
Well, right now, as I explained to Mr. Terenzini, we have 5 sanders that we generally run through our storms. Once in a while, we can run 4, depending on the size of the storm, but generally, we run 5. Most certainly, in your larger storms, we have to run 5 in order to cover the roads and keep them clear and safe and what they should be. Right now, I have 2 sanders that are in desperate need of severe repair. One sander all-season body has the dump body ram that has disattached from the dump body, and it's not really easy to repair and not cost-effective to repair, and you have to have a certified welder do all the welding because it's a safety issue once that body is up in the air.
Right.
And there's quite a bit of rot to the entire body. The second one, the whole bottom of the sanding unit itself is all rotted out over years of use through the salt and the sand. It's an older sander with, it's a steel body sander. These 2 sanders that we put on the specification bid are stainless steel. Getting them at a decent price because they are a used variety, 2 years old, in good shape. We have been down to see them a couple of times and looked at them. Mechanic's been through them. And talking with the mechanic and talking with various other people in the department, we really feel that this is the most cost-effective way to deal with this situation right now. And we have winter coming. To me, it's a priority. It's a safety issue to keep the roads clear and safe and passable for our
Absolutely.
residents. So, to me, I think it's vital.
I do have a question for you. So when we're talking about the dump body here, we're still, it says here that it's a six-wheeler from 1994.
Yep.
So we're actually keeping the six-wheeler, we're just replacing the bed of the truck, essentially,
Yes,
the
we're
giant.
taking the dump body off and putting a sander on for now.
Okay, and what is incorporated in the dump body? That includes the piston, that includes the actual,
It includes the entire dump body itself, the piston, and, you know, the whole body. It's pretty well rotted.
now, how is the status of the six-wheeler itself?
Not good.
So if we replace this, are we going to be able to, if we do get a new truck in the future, be able to reutilize this?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
What we would do is we would take this would be a slide-on sander.
Okay.
So you can take it and put it on another truck.
Okay.
And the life of these sanders will be quite a while.
Mhm.
I'm looking 10 years or better.
Okay.
So if we were to replace that truck in the future, certainly we would move that to another truck if we needed to, or we would house it inside as a backup unit. Certainly, I would not get rid of it.
Okay.
I mean, it's just, it's that good of a sander that,
I didn't know if it was, once it's attached, that's it, and there's no.
no.
Okay,
No, you can remove them and move them to another truck as you need to.
perfect.
Okay. Anyone else have anything for Mr. Mayo?
So, so you're gonna get two sanders for, what's the quote?
$15,100.
Okay, and we had slated previously tax levy money and the pilot, the tax.
Right, we had.
So what happens with the 17.5 of tax? I don't think I'm understanding the
Okay.
math here.
So, the original intent had been to replace the dump body on this truck. However, the dump body and the truck have deteriorated substantially since last fall. Remember, excuse me, that spending plan was put together almost 1 year ago. The 1994 six-wheeler needs to be scrapped. The hope is it'll make it until the spring. So the intent is to replace the six-wheeler either at this fall town meeting or in the spring. And if the cost of the six-wheeler fully equipped is, let me use as an example, $167,500, we would use the $17,500 that is in the town meeting for a dump body. And we would use $150,000 in new cash. So, we're gonna be working that out over the next week or so. But the 17.5 that was appropriated at the annual town meeting remains there, and we would simply apply it towards the replacement. And the light department agreed to let us use their 10,000 towards these sanders. They have a little more flexibility than we do, because we'd have to go back to town meeting to change the 17.5 for a dump body to sanders. The light department can simply decide it at their level.
That's why we have to leave it there,
Yeah,
because in the warrant article it said dump body.
it says dump body,
Yeah,
right.
so we can't-
So I
okay,
can't use
so
it for
that's-
sanders. I can use it towards the dump body on a new truck, but I can't use it towards sanders. So we'll use the money out of vehicle maintenance and then look towards backfilling it at the fall town meeting. Again, it's gonna depend upon where that free cash lands. Does that answer your question?
I guess what happens if we can't backfill?
Oh, well, it'll be fiscal 17 all over again in the highway department
It'll be a tight,
for the vehicle maintenance account. I mean, it's
tight
just,
budget for the year, but.
It was already a tight budget, and we keep making it tighter.
but
Not
what-
saying that,
I understand your concerns, and I have the same concerns, however.
well, I mean, you
uh,
say that we're gonna do one thing, and I understand that things change, it just, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And your equipment is terrible. I've been there twice, I've looked at it, I know nothing about trucks, but it's as plain as day. So it's just a matter of if we say, if free cash isn't certified, we're kind of, we're making the assumption that, A, we're gonna have some, and B, you know,
I got you.
we're spending money that we don't necessarily have yet. So I'm just
I got you.
saying, what's gonna happen with, your budget that was already tight?
You'll simply have to limp through the year.
I'm tired of this.
Unfortunately, the state of the rolling stock at the highway department is, and bear in mind, you develop a spending plan based upon the condition of equipment that's in pretty bad shape in November, then it has to go through a whole winter season. And these two Sanders simply had a dramatic deterioration over the winter months. And when you're dealing with equipment that's always on the edge, and you're trying to plan a year out for it, until you can, as we did with the cruiser this year, start to get into regular replacement programs of this equipment, you've got trucks down there that are almost as old as my 46-year-old son.
Last question, is it on the capital plan that these were needed?
I believe they were.
Yeah, there's been Sanders on the capital plan now for at least 3 years. I mean, Bud started the effort of trying to get them all switched over to stainless steel Sanders because they have a much longer life expectancy than the standard steel Sanders do, which are the ones that are about to fail. That one may not even make it through the winter.
Yeah, the steel Sanders don't last in New England. I wouldn't even consider purchasing anything but stainless right now. But the other issue is that how do you get through the winter? That's the short-term problem. How do you get through the winter with 3 Sanders when you need 5?
I'm not saying that I
You know,
disagree
just-
with you. It's a matter of making sure that the public is aware of exactly, I was just confused on the math piece of it, and I just wanted to make sure. When was the last time that we either purchased or replaced a vehicle?
Yeah, and as Carter said, we are working on that. There's a lot of effort
This
that
is the cost of saying no
needs to go into it.
and just not
You know.
having money. Again, it's not that I disagree, but we have talked at length about making sure that things go before the capital improvement committee, and that we, you know, again, here comes some free cash, and, you know.
I mean, if you'll remember, it was about a year ago this time at which one of your trucks completely failed.
Yeah.
And that was filled with a stopgap $20,000 purchase of a used 15-year-old
Yep.
truck, I believe. I might be off on the number. 95. A 95, 22-year-old, but my apologies. This is, you've got a fleet that is in horrible shape. You run it you work to failure. Everything is work to failure. It's not replace to plan, it's all work to failure. And
Right.
Okay. All right. Mr. Mayor, you have a question?
Yeah, hi, again, question for Mr. Mayor, just for clarification here, I'm looking at the capital improvement plan here, the master plan. There's 3 stainless steel Sanders listed on here, a 1990, a 2004, and a 2005. Do you know the status? I mean, you're saying we have 5 Sanders, we have 3 Sanders listed here, I'm assuming the 1990 is probably the old steel one, maybe?
I would guess.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out which one we're replacing of these 3, now, kind of.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one.
It's the Fink one, the old steel yellow one.
Yeah, it's the old
I
steel
believe we
one.
got that for next to nothing, maybe $600, we put a chain in, 4 years later, it's gone, the bottom is
So
worn right
I
off.
think that's the 1990.
I would think so.
Okay. The other question I had, if I might.
Yeah, sure.
The dump body, that we dealt with last year, I think, we had the emergency meeting capital planning for the 27.5 to get to the town
Yes.
meeting
Yep.
and so forth. That dump body has been eliminated. We're not doing that because the truck is no good. So we're scrapping that truck.
We
And
will
that
be-
would facilitate a need for
The
a
six
new,
wheel.
have we got?
It's more cost effective, even if we put the 27.5 onto the 1996 vehicle, you're putting a dump body onto a 21-year-old vehicle that is within 1 year of failure.
Right. Good question.
By replacing the two sanders, we're able to, and we would still be down one sander, by the way.
Understood.
Right.
So we're replacing two sanders, preserving the 17.5, which we will use towards the dump body on a new vehicle. It really is the most cost-effective way to approach it.
Okay, and I'm assuming we're gonna have to replace the 1984 at some point.
You should probably replace
some point.
80% of your fleet today.
Yeah, well, I don't, I'm just,
It's about the size of it.
I'm just looking at it under the idea, of, how do we get this through the capital planning, because we don't really have a capital planning committee at point.
One of the,
because
one
we
of the
have-
things, if I may, Mr. Chairman, is,
Yes.
should we replace the 74, should we replace the 76, should we replace the 84? The 94 and the 96, I've asked the director to try to scrub from his mind what he has for a current fleet, and to look at what he would have as an ideal fleet if he could transition there over time. There may be a better combination of 1 tons, 6 wheels, 10 wheels. You're running 3 10-wheelers right now because you've chosen to be in the sand business. I don't know of other highway departments your size that would run 3 10-wheelers.
Right.
So I think that we could better answer that question as to what is to be replaced on what hoped-for timeline. Once the director and his staff have had a chance to really say, should we have X number of 3 tons, X number of 6-wheelers? Maybe they only want 1 10-wheeler. So I'm trying to look at this a little bit differently, because once they have that plan, we have to figure out how to get them there without constantly living with these failures. It's not every day, but it's pretty frequently that one vehicle is down for some substantial repair.
And you are working on that plan, I would assume?
Yes, there is a lot to that plan. You have to take into your plowing routes into account and what you need on each plowing route. So I think what's happened is the town has gotten into a habit of, well, our 10-wheeler is failing, so we need a 10-wheeler. Our 6-wheeler is failing, so we need a 6-wheeler. I think we need to take a hardcore look at all of our plow routes, what our needs are, and maybe we need to make some adjustments on what we're purchasing. If we're going to spend some money, we need to spend it the right way, not just replace apple for apple. It might
Amen.
be replacing apple for grape, or,
Understood. And obviously, you're gonna work that with the capital planning,
yes,
obviously, because that gives us the vision, long sight vision, as far as how these vehicles are gonna,
And we will, Mr. Chairman, be off, and I say Mr. Chairman of the board, Mr. Chairman of the capital committee, probably off a bit of a cycle here, because we do have the fall town meeting coming up, and the lead time for a 1-ton fully equipped can be 4 to 5 months, and on a 6-wheeler, you can be looking at 6 to 7 months.
right.
So we
'Cause
do
they
want
throw
to try
down.
to get something done this fall, such that we can have it available either late winter or early spring.
Because those large trucks, they build on demand, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
To your
Specifications?
specification.
I got you.
Money.
Yes.
Alan, I know that, I don't even know how many months ago it was, we talked about using maybe not sand and salt, but just a straight salt,
Mm-hmm.
and whether or not, I mean, I don't know what the pricing of that is, and, you know, you have a lot on your plate, but imagine changing to that. And are these sanders, are they equipped to do that?
Yes.
They'll spread either material.
Okay. I just don't wanna be stuck in something and then look into, you know, it seems more effective in other communities to have,
Yes.
but I think I said my concern to you was on our environment.
Yeah, absolutely, and the big hurdle with changing the way you do your snow and ice operation is storing your salt. That's a huge, huge hurdle. You don't have an indoor building at this point and you have to have your salt inside. It will save money in the long run. When you don't go to that, if you go to that, you won't be doing the cleanup you're doing in the spring, and spending all the man hours, and the
Right.
equipment wear and tear, and doing the catch basin cleaning as much, so, yeah, but
You,
it's getting there is the problem.
and you will be looking at one side or the other of $250,000 to build the
Salt
shed that you
Mhm.
need for storage.
So it's really getting there
Mhm.
that's the problem. It's not that we don't wanna get there, it's getting there that's gonna be the problem.
And is there any effect on, do you know, on the environment? Or a lot of people here are not on public water where it would be, I mean, we have wells and
Yes,
just ditches that
I
flow
can
down the
speak
street.
briefly to the environment. I went to a snow and ice class and sat through a snow and ice class last December, where they did talk a lot about environment impact and using the amount of sand that this community is using is detrimental to your environment, more than your salt would be.
Okay.
So,
That's good information to have.
okay,
There
so-
are some alternative products, once you can make that shift to stronger use of salt. There are alternative products, Magico is one, it's actually made with the disposed side of beer making, so it has a certain attraction to some of us.
Understood, yeah.
And these can reduce the salinity of the material, and I don't think people understand the environmental impact of sand, and the cost of sweeping it, and the cost of cleaning it out, and wherever you have wetlands immediately adjacent to your roadways, the nutrients go in there and choke that too. So it's always a balancing act.
Okay.
But I think folks would be surprised at the environmental impact just of sand.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the bid.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the bid. Do I have a second?
Absolutely, second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion concerning this? I see none. Cameron?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes,
And I vote yes as well.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
Nice job.
Action on the self-contained breathing apparatus for the fire department.
Chief Dickey's not able to be with us tonight. There was $15,000 set aside in the capital planning for this year. It comes as a result of the pilot reached with the municipal light plant. The actual pricing came in at $14,910. This replaces 15 of these SCBA's, and the light department has signed off on the purchase.
I do have a question, as I'm still learning here. State bid list, is that a state list of pre-approved
Yes.
Yep.
vendors? Okay.
The state puts out to bid a wide variety of products. We have to not only make sure that they're on the bid list, but that we've been listed as an eligible agency to purchase.
Okay.
And that is available online. We simply go into the Administrative Services Department, look up the bid item, see what they have, then verify with the vendor.
Okay.
And have them put their information on it. Saves us a substantial amount of time, and they have been pre-vetted.
Okay.
Excellent. Any other questions?
I'd like
No
to-
questions, I'll just make a comment, though, that unless we start a rotation process on these types of pieces of equipment, we're gonna be, back here, we've been here for
It's that
3
third
years now that we've
Yep.
needed to replace, I forget how many of them. We just don't have, the capital funds to do this. So these are products that are life safety products that the fire department needs on an ongoing basis. And due to fire regulations provided in the state, they only have a certain life cycle.
Mhm.
So we need a program where we're replacing these on an ongoing basis, rather than waiting until we're 2 years from them all being expired and having to buy all of them at once.
Mr. Tanzino, you working with the fire chief to come up with a plan, for him to come up with a plan of action regarding the SCBA's on a rotational cycle that's in writing that we can all see?
We are, it's challenge. You may recall from your operating budget, we have a certain number of bunker gear in there this year, hats, mittens, and the like.
Yep.
One of the challenges on an item like this is they were purchased all at once on a grant. Unfortunately, that means they'll expire all at once.
Right.
So I did meet with the chief last week, and similar to the discussion I had with the director, I asked him to develop his clean slate wish list, equipment list, including these kinds of items, to look at what we should be setting aside annually, so that it's there. And in some years, you wouldn't spend it all, but in some years, when you're putting in, let me just use a number, $100,000, perhaps that's the year you had to buy the $500,000 tanker truck. So we're gonna look at it. We can come up with a great number. The challenge will be figuring out how to get it financed, absent some sort of long-term override, or the chairman of the planning capital committee would not be open to this, serious slashes to services.
Understood. All right. Mr. Mayor, you got a question?
Yeah, my question again is related to the capital planning, master plan.
Yep.
The Scott Air Packs here are listed as 18, and it listed twice, one for a replacement now, one again for replacement next year. I don't know if I heard you right or not, but are we getting 15?
We're getting 15 this year, and I believe, and the chief's gonna give me the full rotation list. There are some that will need to be replaced next year as well.
Okay, so
I believe there's 50 in total. Doug, does that sound right?
That sounds about right, and,
Did we buy some?
We did.
Didn't we buy some
2
already?
years ago, we did. Yeah, we purchased,
I'm
15?
wondering if that list is,
well, before we made the last purchase, we needed, because we hadn't been purchasing them, because
Yeah.
it first came to the capital planning when we had 5 years left before they all expired.
and then we didn't do anything.
So at that point, it was calculated that we needed to buy 10 a year. First year, we didn't buy any. So now the second year it came along, we had to buy 12 per year. We didn't buy any then. So now it was up to 18 per year. We bought some. Okay, so now we can readjust the number again for 19.
I think just in addition to, obviously we need a good plan moving forward to do the rotation, but it's also, okay, so we're saying yes to this today, this and that, how does it get to that list so that it's continually, now it moves to a different rotation, but I don't,
So,
when my concern was it being on that list. I don't think it should be on there personally. I think that should be in the operating budget for the fire department, just like in the police department, like the cruiser should be in the operating budget, because it's a piece of their equipment that they need, that's life-saving, that they need every single year. Kind of like, I use law enforcement for an example, like their duty belt and their weapon and their taser and all that stuff. That Scott Pack is kind of like, their safety thing, where it should be on a long-term plan like that. It should be on an operating budget plan, where I've seen it in both. But, I mean, that's just my perspective. I don't know what you guys think, but,
I think that this community is not exactly, if we put it in their budget, then they have to cut out something else. So if we put, I'm not saying that we shouldn't, I'm saying at this point, okay, so how much was the lease for the 14,000? I don't really remember. So now they're gonna cut out a weapon and a,
Right.
so
I
we're
gotcha.
not gonna have somebody to drive that vehicle, and we already need another officer, and, you know, but no matter what, all the equipment that we have, we need to have a list of.
Yes.
We have to ensure that, we have to,
Handbook
and I'm
would-
not sure that we have a good working list of that either. But no matter, we need a good working capital improvement list that's, you know,
Right.
updated, and I'm not really sure
So I can-
how to make that happen.
So that's the capital plan that Bob has there. It's
that
got
the
two
most current?
purposes. It has two purposes. One is it's supposed to be a running list of all of our capital assets. And then it's then to also designate, all right, what are we replacing in the coming year? What do the departments want to replace in the coming year? So it's really to serve two purposes. And the way the cycle works is at the beginning of the cycle, the list from last year gets sent to all of the departments, and they're responsible for getting their section updated so that it's current. Then they provide, these are the things we want to replace, and then we meet with each department to discuss, you know, what is your priority of replacing things? So that's kind of the basic process.
Understood.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Doug, can I ask, how many people have stepped up to be on this committee? Am I looking at the two people on this committee in this particular town
No,
right now?
no,
I believe so.
Okay,
As well as the
I thought
treasurer.
you had a
yeah.
full,
thank you.
I'm on the
Committee.
AC's version.
Right, so
He's
Bob was
representative
a,
on it now.
right, so Bob was a member at large, but he's on the advisory committee now, and he's their appointee.
Good job.
So I'm the
Excellent.
select board appointee, Bob is the advisory committee appointee, and we have the treasurer, so that gives us the quorum. Then there are two member at large positions, which there were two people that were submitted interest, but I don't believe either one of them agreed to sign up, isn't that correct?
I'll have to go back and check on that. But
Okay.
the distinction I would draw is we have a quorum this year.
Right, we will have a quorum this year.
That's good.
Absent
That's
being
huge.
able to
That's
fill
huge.
the
That's huge,
citizen
correct.
at large, which I certainly hope there would be some folks in the community that
And
would
that's advertised?
would
Is that
step
advertised?
forward. We'll check all that in the morning.
Thank you so
We'll
much.
make sure that it is.
Okay.
But I don't want to lose sight of the distinction that just having a quorum is a dramatic move forward.
I don't think Julie and I are really complaining, it's just that seems to be one committee that is so
It's just
crucial.
frustrating, and I
to what
appreciate
we,
seeing another face in the room
need
that's
and can't
willing to come up.
fill. You know, and they're all great
Mr.
questions,
Chairman?
because then it you know, again, this is
I'd
the
like
thing
to
that
go
we've been
back to
trying
this.
to work out. Making sure that it goes before that committee, and then just kind of like, hey, so we know that we're approving to do this, and then I kind of feel like it's almost too late to wait to send it to the department heads and go, so what did the Board of Selectmen approve this year? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's gotta be a way to update it,
You already go.
like in a,
Well, the cycle that I think you're going to be able to engage in this year is shortly, over the next few weeks, Doug will send out all the paperwork, and department heads will actually have gotten some capital this year. That always tends to raise a little bit of interest in filling out the forms. And he'll have his meetings, and I expect that we'll have our report on January 1. The capital report is over here. How those items get bought, whether they're in the budget, they're leased, they're whatever, that's a different means of handling it. And yes, if it is something that recurs every single year, you need to either have an assured supply of capital, which we'll buy it if we have some money left over, or if we have free cash, is not an assured means of proceeding. Or you've got to build it into your operating budget. And if you put it in your operating budget, it has to be put there either by means of a perpetual override or by cutting services.
That's simple.
It really is
Yep.
that simple.
Alan, do you have a question?
I was just gonna make a comment, going back to what I was talking about earlier with the look at equipment in the DPW department, I think the capital request will look a little bit different.
Yeah.
But I think it will look better because it will be things that we really truly need and not just replacing certain things that.
Well, on that capital improvement list, there's also, if I remember correctly, a column for funding source, correct? Okay, just,
But again, that's just a recommendation.
Right.
Not really a recommendation, that's just basically for information. It's up to the select board and the
Right.
town administrator to determine how things are gonna be funded.
Okay.
We're not even purchasing
All right, thank you so much,
this.
everybody.
Templeton
Can I get a,
Municipal Light and Water.
can I
We should
get,
thank.
yeah, I know. Can I get a, do I have a motion for this?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the bid
Yeah,
for the
motion.
self-contained breathing apparatus.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second,
A motion, second, any
with
discussion?
the thank yous to the Templeton Municipal Light and Water Department, once again, assisting our highway as well as assisting our fire.
Excellent. A motion, second, any discussion? Kim?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Diane?
yes.
And I vote yes as well. And I expend my thank you as well to the Light and Water Department. Regarding the contract for the copiers for the Board of Selectmen and Police Station, copy machine contract. Mr. Tanzini, do you have,
The lease is up on the copier in the selectman's office. It's now 3 years old.
Yep.
And the one at the police station is one that was purchased some time ago and is approaching functional obsolescence. We're gonna be able to get two similar machines on 3-year contracts for around $11,000. The pricing is, it's a better machine at less than what we're currently paying for the machine that we have.
okay,
So we would request your authorization to enter into a 3-year contract with Rico in an amount of $10,959.12 for the lease of the two Rico copiers. This
So moved.
also is under state contract.
okay, great. So, I heard so moved. Do I have a
read
second?
this. This is an awesome copier, by the way.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion second, any discussion concerning the copy machines for the Board of Selectmen office and the Police Department? Yes, Mr. May?
Just a question, I looked on the list here and I'm not seeing, and I believe this copier falls into the category under the bylaws because of over $10,000. I don't know if the 3-year contract, if that falls into the 5-year useful life, because we keep them after or not. But just a question, I saw a copier on here for the police station, but I didn't see anything under the BOS, and I was just wanted to make sure that we were in compliance with the bylaw before we move forward.
No, I understand.
Right, so if I'll just make a couple of comments. Copiers are technology that changes rapidly. The way they do copies, changes every 3 years. That's why 3-year leases are the best way to do copiers. To go out and outright purchase a copier is not a very good investment, in today's, technology world. So the fact that they're leases, again, I don't know if that makes it fall into the capital category or not.
It's not a purchase.
Right, because we're never going to purchase them. We're only going to
And I don't
lease
think-
them for the 3 years and then give them back and get.
And that
a
really
new one.
shouldn't be on the, I don't think that should be on the capital planning list either, I don't think. I mean, unless we own it.
Right, the
outright.
police, that's why the police one is on there, because we actually own that machine.
I got you now.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
But it's almost
and again, I would not
Yeah.
recommend we
Good
ever
point,
buy
though.
a
Good
copy
question.
machine.
So good point. Does that answer your question, Mr. May?
Yes, thank you
Okay.
very much.
Any other discussion concerning the copy machine lease?
Yeah, I just wanna know if, even though we're getting this at a cheaper cost, what about ink? Is that all gonna fit into the budget? Cause sometimes you can
Toners.
get a ink
It's
toner,
all-
excuse me, I use ink.
It's inclusive.
Okay.
We're
And
allowed-
repairs and maintenance?
And the lease covers like they're gonna come out here and fix it if something's wrong and.
Yes. There's a limit on copies. If we go over that, we'd have to pay for those extra, but it's a pretty substantial amount. We'd have to do some serious printing to even hit the amount,
Okay.
but that's all inclusive.
Yeah, Mr. May?
Just a follow-up to Diane's question here. I noticed on there that it does say .02 cents for black and white copies. Is that after a fixed
After.
amount, or is that?
It's after the
Okay,
fixed.
okay, so it's not a lease just for the machine, then you pay per copy?
No.
It covers all the rest, okay. Thank you.
Another good question, thank you. I have a motion and a second, any other discussion? See none, Cam?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Diane? And I vote yes as well. Anything on old business? I see nothing. Public comments? Public comments? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, come on, stand up.
Hi there.
Hi, just your name and address, ma'am?
My name is Jamie Lemire, and we live at 140 Michaels Lane in Baldwinville.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm up here because I am getting ready to get a licensed home daycare. My husband and I have done a lot of work to that spot, and I actually had my licensor come Thursday, and everything was perfect, except for our swing set, which is 2 years old. It's in wonderful condition, but it needs to have 9 inches deep of and 6 feet out in parameter of playground mulch, which is mulch that is, it's wood that hasn't been pressure treated. We've put so much money, and basically I'm just here because I wanted to know if the town would consider possibly helping us with doing this. I don't want to take down the swing set. I have 2 young boys that use it all the time, and I'm doing this business because I love children, and it's a safe play set. We need 13 yards of mulch. My husband called to get an estimate the other day, and it's $40 a yard. So that's like a substantial amount of money that we just don't have right now. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the area. The house was marked deplorable. Not deplorable, demolished. Sorry.
Yeah, it's
They
okay.
wanted to demolish it,
Yeah, relax.
and demolition.
Yeah.
And we've worked really hard, and we finally just we just put $3,000 on credit for our fencing. And I just didn't know if maybe the highway department would consider.
Well, I appreciate that.
Making a donation.
What was the total cost per yard? It was $40.
$40.
And then how many yards did you need?
13 yards.
520?
He's a math guy.
I use a calculator more than I use my brain and Excel.
Different generation.
Exactly. We can't, we can't.
I think.
We do appreciate you coming in.
Thank you so much.
But I'll tell you, yeah.
Does the town take down trees and mulch them?
It can't.
we can't supply anything to the public like
Put it someplace where somebody could go get it?
That's another great question, and again, that would be something maybe we could put on an agenda item for next time.
Could you supply me with your information, and I'm gonna figure out if there's a way, this is personal, by the way, that I can help you.
I
I'd
would,
be happy to do that.
I would
I have
like
a
to
lot of
state
contacts.
that I'm willing to
Yeah.
donate $260 if you can come up with the additional $260. No problem.
Well, I can probably donate 100.
I can probably do that too.
We'll figure it out.
We'll
Yeah,
figure
stay
it
in
out
Do me
for
a
you. If
favor
you wanna
before
leave
you
your
leave a name and
information with
number
us.
and your address and stuff with Holly, and give us some time, and we'll figure something out for you, okay? As a personal thing, not as a town thing.
I'm sorry to cry.
No, don't cry.
Shows you're human. I'm throwing 52.
Don't cry. Hey, it takes a village to build a village, okay?
That's right. Thank you.
And to raise children.
Of course, of course. Alan, did you have something to add?
Just that, public playgrounds require a certified wood chip, and I'm not sure if this isn't the same type of thing, so that may be why the cost is so high for her.
It is, it's because the state inspector does the same thing for
Yep.
your, as well as home
So
licensed
what
camp.
I was gonna say is our wood chips from our trees, they're not certified, so we
Oh,
can't.
right, that's what I was thinking too.
Understood,
We
okay.
give them otherwise.
All right, well,
Thank you.
thanks, Emma, we'll figure that out. Any other public comments? None? Can I, Mr. Dill, can you come on up here for a second? We all know Mr. Dill, right? Scott Dill? He is now the chairman of the Recreation, the Templeton Recreation Department, and I have to give him kudos. This Sunday was the soccer opening,
Yes.
which I couldn't, there was so many kids there. There's gotta be like 180-plus kids there, and
Yep.
all run around and in the chaos. But I gotta tell you, you stepped up, and I have to give you kudos.
Thank you.
It was good to have, I was honored to be there with you, to see all those kids playing, and I got to say a couple of nice words for the people, and I think, you know, you and the entire Recreation Committee, I think, is doing a fantastic job, and obviously, we as select members, I can only speak for myself, but as far as I'm concerned, I mean, whatever I can do to help, I mean, I'm there.
Thank you. I appreciate all your help. And we have big plans. We're just getting started. Big plans. 192 kids signed up for soccer. We're a little down from last year, but you know, we had conversation, and there's some things we can change and switch the days and change things up there. And in basketball, I'll have over 300 signed up, and that's just Phillips and Templeton. We don't draw from any other town.
Wow.
We just draw from these two areas. So you gave me the numbers of kids that are in this area, and we're going to capture them. And you know, we want to start different things up there. We want to do the touch a truck. We want to do the safety day up there. We want to do different things that will draw people to that park. So we want to expose that park. And with Al, I couldn't do it without Al. Al has been my backbone for the last month on this whole project. So kudos to the highway department. He's up there chasing geese with me at 6 o'clock in the morning. He's doing what he has to do up there to keep the place good. So
Has Mr. Davis, he's helped you? Or
a little bit, yeah. He's kind of transitioned out, but I've
I
pretty
know
much-
that, I feel like we haven't been able, to support, recreation. I don't think it's that we didn't want to. I've had great conversations with Bill.
Mhm.
So I'm just happy that you're keeping it going, and, I see you a lot on social media, which is
And
great.
that's the way we have to go. I mean,
I
everybody lives on
understand
it, and
that.
that's how
Yeah.
we're gonna get the message out there. So it's,
Yeah.
you know, we have a lot of great plans. We have a lot of different programs we wanna start for the kids. Playground, we definitely wanna get that back on the agenda. It's been gone since my son's been 12. He's
I
16
agree
now,
with
so
you.
he wants to get that back, and my
That'll be
daughter
lovely.
wants to start a cheering program for the little ones, to have a cheering program, a rec cheering program for the kids in town. So when they get to the high school, middle school level, they're ready, and they can cheer for rec events, for soccer and town events. They can march in the parades, and we definitely want to be a part of parades. And there's so many youthful things that we can draw to this town, and you know, that's, to keep your kids busy is huge. I have 3, and I know you have to keep them busy, otherwise you'll lose your mind.
I have 6, believe me, I got it.
I definitely feel your pain.
I got you.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
believe me. I gotta tell I think, as we discussed, I think, you know, shifting your days, doing what you need to do, work that with your committee, which again, how was your committee? I mean, you have a full committee now?
We'll
or-
have 7. I have 2 more that I want to join, so I'll have a full, and I have people that want to join on top of that. So
Okay.
we're gonna have a full boat, which is great.
Okay, so
That's
you-
fantastic.
that is beyond leaps and bounds. You know, work with your committee with setting your own policies and procedures.
Yeah.
Make sure they're in writing, and please work with Mr. Tanzini
Yeah.
and the
Yeah, we've
TA
already-
to incorporate all that into a document form.
Yep.
That way you guys, as far as the rec department is protected,
Yep.
and the town is protected.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
But again, I just want to give you kudos.
Thank you
really
so
hats
much.
off.
And I look forward to working with all of you. I've had dealings with some of you already, and I hope to meet all of you and bring us all together like we should be. We shouldn't be separate, we should all be one, so.
I tell you, like Diane always told me, it takes a village to build a village, and I keep saying it because that's what Templeton's all about.
We're so small, we don't have a choice. We
No.
have to take care of each other.
That's
or We're
right.
not gonna make it.
That's right, that's
I
right.
appreciate your help.
I get cookies from my neighbor all the time, believe me, I got it.
You should pass some of those cookies my way. What are you sporting in law?
Does anybody have any board or staff member comments at this time?
I do have a quick question regarding the audit work papers that I had started post-audit. I'm looking to close those out and finish those because I believe everything that is on there has been taken care of. But there's just a few outstanding items that need to be, I think the sewer department server Was like one of the miscellaneous issues that we had, but it seemed to be that the majority of those items, as I went through, have been closed out, tied out, and have been answered. So I do want to thank Kelly, and although she's not here, and Mr. Charanzini for really clearing up all those items and issues. And I'm really hoping for a nice 2017 exit audit conference this year.
Yeah, it should be a lot better than last year, that's for sure. But thank you. Any other comments, board of staff comments? Do we need to go into executive session, Mr. Stinson?
I have nothing tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman.
I just
Oh,
wanna
yes,
ask-
ma'am.
I want to ask our administrator why he does give us a little synopsis of what he does or what is working on during the week like he used to. Beyond me is I don't have a computer because I can't afford one.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have to come to the meetings to find out what is going on. So I'd like, and you do put like a little spiel on the computer or whatever, blog, Facebook or whatever it is.
We don't use the
I-
blog.
I
use the
can't.
Turns out email.
I can't afford one. I can't put it in my budget. So I would like for him to continue, because I do come to the meetings most of the time, that he give us a little spiel because I found them very informative.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Do you have a
And
spiel for
another
us
thing,
tonight?
Other people want it too, just not me.
I know.
And
They like
I
it.
do have a following.
With the agenda.
He likes his you like his weekly report that he gives us, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, we should know
We
this.
make-
I
when
have
she
a
comes to the meeting,
following.
she can have a copy of the weekly report.
I go downtown and whatever, and people come up to me and ask me.
Okay, I got you.
I see you on television.
See, you're famous.
And
Town
they do
crier.
say things to me that I'd like to, this is one of the things.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of us out here that aren't fortunate enough to know how to run a computer. I don't, because I never had reason to have one, because I do support the local newspapers, and when we lose them, we're gonna be losing a lot of our freedoms. And so, with the computers, that's happening also.
Mhm.
So I feel that since I do come to the meeting, and I would like for him, since he is our leader in town, to hear what is going on.
Understood. No, we hear you. We'll make sure something
Just
is
to him to wanna
done,
do the
okay?
spiel.
A spiel, I got it. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody have the,
No, I was trying to catch Dave's attention before he ducked
Oh.
out.
oh, okay. I have a motion,
Apologies.
second. Any other discussion? I see none. Kim?
Yes,
Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Diane?
Why are
abstain.
you saying it that late
Abstain.
tonight?
I
Like,
like
'cause I
it.
said no once?
Oh, I
Yes.
like that.
Wow, I love you. You
We
know
are
that.
adjourned.